Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, happy Monday. I hope you guys have had a great weekend. I hope the start of your week is off to another good start. Um, Welcome to another episode of Monday Evening Quarterback. My name is Christian Simpson. I am the creator, I'm the founder, I'm the NFL / college football analyst of a brand called The Daily Blitz, where we specialize in all things football 24/7, 365. It's October 6th, 2025. If you have been following along from the get go, as always, thank you. And if this is your first time tuning in, I hope you enjoy. If you were referred to me, I want to thank whoever referred you to me, and then I want to thank you for taking the referral. I started a brand called The Daily Blitz, where I am the NFL and college football analyst. I am the blogger, I'm a radio contributor, I am just an all around fan of the sport of football. And yeah, it's always great to be here with you guys. Week 6 of college football is in the books. Week 5 of the NFL will conclude tonight. Kansas City Chiefs, Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to break that down a little before I end the show. If you are liking what you are hearing, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. We are on Spotify, YouTube, Twitch, and the Nerdport Network. And log on to the site and become a subscriber if you want to follow along to any blog posts. That is the dailyblitz.blog. Enter your email address, and anything that gets posted will be sent to your inbox. With that being said, let's dive right in. It was another wild week of college football. Two teams that were the preseason AP favorites to get to the national championship both lost, and now they're both unranked. I'm talking about Penn State and Texas, and I'm just going to start right there. Texas let their guard down on Saturday in the Swamp. The Swamp is a tough place to play, and that game had trap written all over it. Now, I won't necessarily disagree with you if you say that Arch Manning is overrated, because he hasn't lived up to the expectations, and they allow Florida to have their best game of the day. DJ Lagway finally looked like the guy that we were expecting him to look like. Texas was gift wrapped the SEC, and they haven't lived up to the hype or the expectations. I think they're putting a little too much pressure on this kid, on Arch. He's too in his head, and it's showing. He can't take care of the ball. It's one thing when you beat the lower echelon. I mean, I hate to use that term, but I really don't know another way to describe it. You're beating D2 schools. All right, that's better. And you're looking down at your opponent, but you got to be able to do that against the bigger names, especially if you want to be considered amongst the best. Florida, they just pumped Texas. Billy Napier, I can't believe I'm saying this, he outcoached Circles around Steve Sarkisian. Steve couldn't adjust, and when you don't take care of the ball, you're not going to win. Florida won this game 29-21. I can't wait to see where Texas goes from here. And we all thought they were back. Now, look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. My national championship coming into the year was Texas and Penn State. And Penn State, they wet the bed against UCLA. You're thinking, okay, UCLA is a chance and an opportunity for them to get right. And UCLA just punched them in the mouth. One, they turned the game into a shootout. That's not Penn State's forte. Their forte is to ugly the game up, control the line of scrimmage, run the ball, and turn the game into a street fight. I got to give Drew Aller credit. He was 19 of 26, 200 yards, passing and 2 touchdowns, but he was also the leading rusher, and so was Nico Iamaleava. Yes, that name sounds familiar, doesn't it? The former Tennessee quarterback who's now a UCLA Bruin. UCLA won this game by a score of 42-37. So the game I previewed the other day was Vanderbilt and Alabama. Game day was there, homecoming for Nick Saban. His wife was there. Last year when these two met, Alabama was ranked number 1, and Vandy upset them. And that was, kind of like this is my moment for Diego Pavia. And when I watch him, I get such Johnny Manziel vibes from him. I just think he's a better passer than Johnny was. I previewed this on Saturday, and one thing I remember saying was if Diego ended up winning this game, I think he would have became the clear-cut favorite for the Heisman. Talk about having a Heisman moment. That would have been it, beating the number 10 team in the country in their place in Tuscaloosa. But here's the one thing about Alabama. They have regrouped so nicely, and they don't lose to the same team in back-to-back years. And this dates back to Nick Saban. Ty Simpson has been playing some of the best football at the position of quarterback. And, it's important. Having Jam Miller, he makes all the difference. I think he's the tape of this offense. I'll even give you one better. What James Cook is to the Buffalo Bills is what Jam Miller is to the Alabama Crimson Tide. Coming into this game, Vandy's offense averaged close to 49 points per game. And they were also doing it on the defensive side as well. Giving up only 17 to their opponent. Then, you look at Alabama prior to this game. Well, not anymore now. They didn't turn the ball over, but Ty Simpson did throw an interception. But it was how he regrouped. You turn the page, you look at the next play, and you keep going from there. I love what Alabama did defensively because they kept safeties high. They mixed it up with a little bit of man and zone underneath, and they dared Diego Pavia to beat them underneath. He was not throwing that ball over the top and down the field. And they held him. Alabama has actually had one of the better pass defenses in the sport, in the country. And they held him under 200 yards, 21-35, 198 yards. He threw an interception, and he did throw a touchdown pass. Ty Simpson, no relation, on the other hand, 23 of 31, 340 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And Jam Miller, 22 carries, $136, and 1 touchdown. Ryan Williams was your leading receiver with 98 yards. He caught a touchdown pass from Ty. And Jeremy Bernard, who was my X factor, also caught a touchdown pass from Ty. 2 straight weeks, 2 big wins. You beat Georgia in Athens in week 5. And then you beat the number 16 ranked Vanderbilt Commodores in week 6. I really like the way Alabama has regrouped ever since that week 1 loss to Florida State. They're playing with a little more urgency. They believe that they deserve to be around a little bit more, and it looks like Kalen DeBoer as a coach is more comfortable. His offense is setting in. He's been great with Ty. He's made Jam the focal point of the offense, and he still has that threat on the perimeter in Ryan Williams. Alabama won this game 30-14, held that Vanderbilt offense in check. Speaking of Georgia, they bounced back. Ohio State, and here's how good this Ohio State defense has been. They've only given up 25 total points. Wow, I was right. Unbelievable. They dominated Minnesota by a score of 42-3. Oklahoma dominating Kent State. No John Mattia, no problem. Texas A&M dominating Mississippi State. And Texas Tech. Now, I really like what I've seen from them. I got to cover and break down one of their games a couple of weeks ago when they played the Utah Utes. And Salt Lake City is a tough place to play for the opposition. Losing Baron Morton to an injury. Will Hammond came in there and just kept things afloat for them. Joey McGuire really has a good thing going in Lubbock. They dominated Houston on Saturday night, 35-11. Baron Morton was 28-40, 345 yards passing, 1 touchdown. And you got to watch out for them in the Big 12. And if they make the playoffs, they're another team to watch out for. Speaking of the Big 12, Iowa State dropping the game at the to Cincinnati, 38-30. Want to see how Iowa State bounces back moving forward. I really hope we get Texas Tech and Iowa State for the Big 12 conference title game. These are clearly the two best teams in the conference, and this will be a collision course. I mean, two really good quarterbacks in Rocco Beck and Baron Morton to determine the conference would be fun. Notre Dame. Now, this team could be 5-0. Like, they really could. They dominated Boise State. Maddox Madison was absolutely awful. He threw 4 interceptions. In Notre Dame, they got back to the basics. They're establishing Jeremiah Love, and they're establishing Jadarian Price. Stop putting too much on C.J. Carr's plate, because he's not that guy. Notre Dame won 28-7 on Saturday. Georgia bounced back with a 21-point victory over Kentucky. They really didn't need Gunnar Stockton to do too much. Just kind of had to control things, and the defense kind of took over from there. You know, I look at the SEC now, and it's as wide open as I think it's ever been. Well, that I've seen it, because it was always Alabama, and, you know, as of late, Georgia. You know, I still think they are the two top dogs in the conference now, but, you know, how does LSU regroup? What are we going to see from Ole Miss? Texas A&M is really good. Texas isn't who we thought they were, but yeah, these next couple of weeks are gonna really tell us who is the best in the SEC. I know one thing I want to discuss. I want to talk about a very popular blue blood, the Miami Hurricanes. Now, that question has been going on, floating around for years. When will the U be back? 2017, they looked really good, and they just imploded and struggled down the stretch. Even last year, I think they were 9-0 at one point. Had the most explosive offense in the nation, and ended up getting punched in the mouth. I think Georgia Tech beat them. Miami and Georgia Tech are the two best teams in the ACC, because it sure ain't Clemson. They had a rivalry game, Miami, under the lights, Saturday night in Tallahassee against Florida State. Remember, this was the game I said Florida State looked ahead to. Carson Beck, at one point, had more touchdowns than Florida State had points. He was 20 of 27, 241 yards passing, and 4 touchdowns. Tommy Castellanos, 25 of 45 on the Florida State side, 272 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. To be honest with you guys, I truthfully think that Miami is the best team in college football that I've seen. They're balanced offensively. They have a really good offensive line. They have weapons. Malachi Toney, C.J. Daniels, Elijah Lofton. They can run the ball with Mark Fletcher. Carson Beck is picking his spots, and the offense isn't as high octane as it was last year, but it's methodical. And what more could you want, and what more could you ask for? They take care of the ball, and defensively, they're a physical unit that gets downhill. They all travel to the ball and fly to the ball. They play sideline to sideline. The secondary is pretty solid. And a name to watch. Watch out for Ruben Bain Jr. He creates a lot of havoc on that Miami defensive front. I do have to give Mike Norvell and the Seminoles a little credit because they did fight back. They did score 19 points in the fourth quarter, but in the end, it was just too much Miami. Miami just established themselves. Miami won this game by a score of 28-22, and with that being said, that's pretty much everything I have for college football, but I have a pretty interesting schedule on what's being previewed. More than likely, I am previewing Ohio State and Illinois. I know Big Noon Kickoff is going to be there. I know I am previewing Indiana and Oregon. That's where game day is going to be. They're going to be in Eugene this weekend. And then I look at Alabama and Missouri. So that's what the schedule is looking like right now. Should be an interesting week. Can't believe it's week 7 of college football. With that being said, I want to look at the AP top 25. We're going to start from 25 and we're going to work our way up. 25 is Florida State. 24, Georgia Tech. 23. My bad. I'm sorry. 25, Florida State. 24, South Florida. 23, Memphis. 22, Iowa State. 21, Arizona State. 20, Vanderbilt. 19, Virginia. And watch out for them as well in the ACC. I think it's a 3-team race right now with Virginia, Miami, and Georgia Tech. 18, BYU. Illinois is at 17. Notre Dame, 16. 15, Michigan. 14, Missouri, who we'll see next week against Alabama. 13, Georgia Tech. 12, Tennessee. 11 LSU. 10, Georgia. 9, Texas Tech. 8, Alabama. 7, Indiana. 6, Oklahoma. In the top 5 right now. Texas A&M at 5. Ole Miss at 4. Oregon at 3, Miami at 2, and Ohio State at number 1. What do you guys think of the top 25? And I want to know what caught your eye in college football. With that being said, that's all I have. We're going to go to the phone lines. You'll hear a little bit of music. And when I get back, I'm going to talk a little National Football League, preview Monday Night Football, answer some questions, promote, and I'm going to be on my way to go do the prime. This is Monday Evening Quarterback on Spotify, YouTube, not Blog Talk Radio, Spotify, YouTube, Twitch, and the Nerdport Network. I'll be right back. Enjoy the phone calls.